Hi, this is Jennifer from SimpleScrapper.com, and this is your weekly pep talk. Okay, so in this week's pep talk, I want to do a little bit of a haul video here, which if you're not familiar with that, that's when someone who has purchased some new scrapbook supplies shares them with their video audience. And I've never done this before, this is my first time. And I wanted to do this in the context of a weekly pep talk and talk a little bit about why I chose this particular selection of supplies and how they fit into my scrapbooking process. And along the way, I want you to keep in mind how the purchases you make and the purchases maybe you've made recently fit into your process, or maybe don't. Because I know some scrapbookers have a problem where you'll purchase something that you really like. You like the visual appeal of it, but it doesn't fit into the type of scrapbooking that you actually do. There's a mismatch there. And so what I'm going to focus on here is how these particular supplies fit into my needs as a scrapbooker, both kind of in the creative aspects as well as the process aspects. Okay, so I will just get started here with these sequins. And I really like these sequins from the Atlantic line by Studio Calico because they were very, very neutral. And you'll see that's a little bit of a trend in my product selections here. We've got silver and kind of a creamy orange, a navy blue. And I love how navy blue is definitely a neutral right now. And there's some really fun ones that are pink. And then there's these ones that are actually wood grain sequins. So that's pretty neat. And so I really like these. There's quite actually a large selection here compared to what you'd get in a Studio Calico kit. So these will go a long way and be really versatile on a lot of different layouts. I love using sequins with my tiny attacher, and especially this size of sequin because it's just the right width for getting a staple in the middle of. And one other note is that I only buy sequins that are cupped. I have some that are the flat variety, but I find that they don't really hold that staple well. It looks a little bit awkward, and it's harder to get it like in the right spot so it looks natural. And so I don't like the flat sequins because I do use the stapler more often than I use adhesive to apply my sequin. Okay, so that was quite a bit about sequins. Next I'll go to these stamps here. I picked these two Technique Tuesday stamp sets by Ali Edwards. And I had not purchased a lot of bigger stamp sets recently, and I really liked these because they have very basic reusable sentiments. And also they're in shapes that are things that I use frequently, like arrows and circles. And these have different options here. We have all the different words are in the white, black and white outline, as well as the black filled option. And so that just gives an ability to extend the life of your stamp set and give you more options for using it, even if you've used a similar sentiment. And I loved how these, as Ali does a lot, these are really basic sentiments that you can use again and again in a lot of different purposes. Same with the circle stamp set. I liked how it not only had the big circles, which I can punch with my circle punch. We have a couple little additional small words as well, which I know I'll use again and again, particularly on project life-size cards. So there's my bottom line here. There are so many beautiful stamps out there with great sentiments, great designs, but what I always think about is this a stamp set that I can use again and again on lots of layouts and in many places. And am I still going to like it a year from now? If I can't say that, I don't purchase it because I know that I want to get a lot of mileage out of my supplies, particularly something like this. These are $14.99, and so I want to make sure that I'm getting my money's worth. I'll just transition here, just talking about the inks that I chose. This is a new set from Hero Arts. This is the garden selection of these 4 cubes. I don't do a ton of stamping. I often have one or two stamp sentiments on a layout, if any at all. But I really like how these were very on-trend colors. We have the gray, this greenish aquamarine color, and then 2 in the warm tones, a peach and a cantaloupe. And they went really well with this paper collections that I selected. And I like these small size inks because even the best inks, they do dry up, and I'm not stamping all the time, so I want to make sure that I don't have this giant ink pad that I'm not going to use up. So I tend to buy the smaller ones, plus they're easy to store. Next we'll go to some clear items. This is a set from Basic Gray. This is from the Mint Julep collection. You can see there's quite a few different options in this package. These are the die-cut cardstock pieces and transparencies. And I love little bits like this for including on my layouts and on my Project Life pockets. And I particularly love the transparent pieces. I find that transparent pieces are a great kind of subtle addition. And like this arrow here, so you can find a white surface, has just a really light design on it, this blue swirls. And I love how transparent pieces just add kind of a softness and add a design element that's not visually bold. The way I'm scrapbooking these days, it's all about kind of creating harmony on the page and using things that are very timeless, because I'm really focused on creating pages that I'm going to love, 15, even 20 years from now. So I'm focused on very basic elements. And I thought this was a nice neutral but feminine color palette for doing scrapbooking related to my daughter. I'll show you these other 2 sets of clear elements I have. These are these letters. It's about 1.5 inch letters from crepe paper in the recent mid-release, the Pier. These have been in a lot of kit clubs recently, and I didn't get any of those kits, so I wanted to make sure I picked up these letters. They're super fun, red, almost an orangey red letters, and I'm planning on mostly using my stapler to attach this to the page for titles, or even for initials for members of my family. And so I'm really excited about using those. They're a bold element, but because they have that transparency, they're not so bold. And then I also got these Heidi Swap banners. These are a little bit, I don't know, fancy or blingy for me, as most Heidi Swap things are. But I really liked how these type of banners, I could tuck them under a lot of papers and just have things poking out. So it's kind of that little additional design embellishment without being too aggressive. And we've got some chevrons here and polka dots, and I really like this one that's actually a white. And we're going to go to these letter stickers. I absolutely love stickers, and I'm at the point now where so many of my collections are just out of ease. So I keep buying thickers so that I can have enough ease left in my thickers, and I love cork thickers because they're another neutral. They're almost a go with anything. 2 years ago, the first Amy Tangerine line had the gray and the black crosshatch stickers and that goodness font, and those were kind of on trend of the moment, and I still love those. But I definitely think cork thickers are what's in right now, and I love how they're go with anything. So these will be very heavily used, and it's a nice, this is the Rockabye font, it's a nice serif font, and it just goes with anything. And I love how the cork neutral, that kind of soft, warm brown, goes with the papers that I selected. A lot of creamy tones here. Okay, now we have this Kelly Perky Triangle Mask. This is a Simon Says Stamp exclusive. This was an entire order from Simon Says Stamp. I find myself purchasing from there more and more often because they tend to have the things that I want in stock. I don't know if that's a reflection of them or the reflection of the things that I like, but I've been purchasing a lot of things from Simon. And I really like the triangle pattern. I'm kind of really into that motif right now. And I'll be using this with paints, with mists, and even with some inks, just to do some backgrounds. And I'm really liking kind of tone on tone and subtle backgrounds to add another texture to my layouts without being, bold, as I've said. So this will be fun to play with. And then finally, these are the 2 6x6 paper pads that I picked. And I love, if you can see, they go so well together. These 2 paper pads have 36 papers each, so that's 72 papers. This is going to give me a lot of mileage for my layouts this summer. In these great kind of soft, almost neutral tones, They're just very buttery, creamy colors, very feminine. I'm doing a lot of scrapbooking of my daughter these days, so that's the type of colors that I'm going towards. And I love just how they coordinate together with very small patterns, and they're just going to be perfect. Perfect for layering. I love the neutrals and the navy and the brown and kind of a brownish gray on this one, and then how the pinks and the aquas go between the two, and a little bit of yellow there as well. So those are the supplies that I purchased just recently, and I'm really excited to start scrapbooking. I did a record number of layouts during June. I think over a period of a month, which may have started a little bit at the end of May and gone at, I did 26 layouts, and it's probably the most I've ever done in a shorter period of time. And at first I was a little bit burnt out, but in the end I was really inspired. I'm like, oh, I need more stuff to scrap with. So I purchased this order so that I would have some fun new things to play with to keep that momentum up now that I have this high energy. And I wanted to pick things that were both, new and fun to play with, but, there wasn't even a larger variety of products out there I could have purchased. But I wanted to pick ones that fit into my process, were like the styles of things and the types of products, like these transparent elements. I have this selection from this is from Basic Grey Hipster, and I've been using these on almost every layout, so I knew I wanted to get more of those. I've been using sequins a lot. I've been using 6x6 pads a lot. So I wanted to make sure that I'm kind of replenishing the types of supplies that I'm using because I know they work well for me. So that's this week's pep talk. I really want to encourage you to go and think about your next purchase with an eye towards what are the things that I'm really going to use, and is it just something that I'm attracted to, or is this something that's really going to fit into the type of scrapbooking that I'm comfortable with and that creates the best layouts that I'm really proud of. Thanks, and have a good week! The weekly pep talk is brought to you by Everyday Storyteller 2, a new idea book with 33 more practical ideas from real-world scrapbookers. Get your copy at everydaystoryteller.com.